do something a little bit differently tonight and show some pictures from my money printing project. Most important to my money printing project is the compost creating area here. So these were pallets. They've been modified quite a lot to take the section between the two sort of pallet faces out. So you can see that I've only left the outside, and then I've filled in all these gaps to create two bins with enormous capacity. The idea is always to fill this one here, the one on the left, and then once that finally fills, and I can actually fill it pretty quickly, a few times a year, then you'll flip that into the bin on the right. So I've got some compost that's already gone through one flip. So each time you flip a compost pile, you actually will then have the time between the day you flip it and the day where the compost is completed. So actually you can theoretically create finished compost that kind of looks like this, maybe a little bit better broken down, in 2 weeks if you're flipping it every single day, because you're always bringing that finished date forward. It also has a lot to do with sort of the season, the time of the year it is, and the proportions of nitrogen versus carbon materials that you've got in the compost. A lot of this compost comes from grass clippings. So on sort of the apartment complex I'm on, I'm taking all the grass clippings and I'm actually driving them down the hill to this allotment garden in my minivan to mix with sort of these brown materials. And then I'll amend that with whatever else I can get. So over here you have tops from plants, like just stuff from the plot, weeds, which normally you'd be hesitant to use, but in that hot compost, all those weed seeds will burn out anyway, so that's all right. And then food from the kitchen and food from nearby grocery stores, whatever is going moldy or rotten, like I'm willing to take in large quantity, and I'm filling this bin up. So I've already filled this bin from the bottom once this year. So that's 4 or 5 months, and stuff really starts to get going around this time of the year. Compost is moving quickly, and you're also getting a lot more organic. Like, you don't even get grass clippings until May. So now that I can get grass clippings in here, I can really start to produce new soil. And the reason I do all this new soil production is because I don't want to buy it. First of all, because it costs money. And second of all, because it's low quality. So it actually contains a large amount of wood in the soil. And what I eventually hope to do, you can see these sort of raised beds. The picture's not so great, but you can see these raised beds in the background. Now what I've done is I've actually dug down to the peat on these paths, and then I've put that soil into the raised beds. So the paths are actually below grade, and then the raised beds are kind of at or slightly above grade. And then I have these 2x4s. It's constructed with these 2x4s on the corners so that you can always just add more boards as you go. So the idea is to just grow this taller and taller and taller with the compost that we can make right on site. And if we're able to do that, if that's able to be accomplished, then that will sort of show the success of the composting project, and doing sort of having the largest compost operation in this allotment right now, to see what you can do producing your own soil right on site without the use of animals. And if you were wondering what I meant by money printing project, I'm currently using this allotment. I've sort of decided to devote my time here toward producing seed, viable seed that is sort of genetically predisposed to thriving in this climate. So this is one of my first experiments with seed, which went very well. These are pole beans, so I left many of the pole beans on the fence until they got very, very big, very, very tough. Like, you wouldn't want to eat them anymore, but I dried them over winter, and these ones didn't require a freeze. I do have some Scarlet Runner ones back here that did require a freeze because I had a whole bunch of insects in them that were sort of infesting the seed. Fortunately, I was able to catch it in time, and I froze it, and I've only lost about 20% of the seed. But just being able to produce this seed, like this much seed, is now going to cost you $4, $5 in the store. but you can produce it in such massive quantity. I actually already gave a liter of this away, a mason jar liter full, to a seed library, and this is just sort of the best of the best that I've kept for myself. So if you have a ready market for seed, or if you can trade it to people or give it away as gifts, I think seed is, not only does it store long term, but it's something of value that you can give to people and actually grow in a very, very small space. So seed is what I'm really teaching myself to save with this project, and the compost is also a very fun part of it as well.